Hey, welcome back to Business 101, Introduction to Business, and we are continuing on in our module number 5 on the topic of management. In this particular video, as you can see, we're talking about the very important topic of formulating business strategy. This is indeed one of the key roles that management has, and so it bears a closer look exactly what is strategy and what does it mean to formulate strategy. Well, as you can see from this slide, formulating strategy, at least in broad brush strokes, is about 3 steps. The first step is establishing your organization's strategic goals. Where do you want to go? And step 2, analyze the organization and the environment, and that is something we'll talk about. A tool that we use for that typically in business is called SWOT analysis. More on that in a couple slides. And finally, step 3, matching the organization and its environment and seeing whether or not the goals and the strategy you established really came out and resulted in what you were hoping to accomplish. That's basically the big broad strokes, and each of these, of course, is not a small or simple process. It's easy to sort of sketch it out as 3 simple steps. It's much harder to actually perform these steps in the real world. And so you can see here, this is an illustration borrowed from your textbook, figure 5.4, about strategy formulation. You see there, running from left to right, the first step is to set your goals. Where do you want to be as an organization? What are you trying to accomplish? Step 2 is to analyze, well, who are you as an organization? What are your strengths? What's your weaknesses? What do you do well? What perhaps you do better than anybody else in the marketplace? And then the other half of that, you can see that in the little darker teal circle, you not only have to analyze who you are as an organization, but you have to analyze what is this environment that we are in? What's this marketplace? What's the society and culture? What's the economic structure? What are the technological opportunities? What is this world in which we're trying to do business, and how will some of those elements impact us? Are there opportunities out there that we can perhaps exploit and leverage? Are there threats that we need to avoid? And once you have done that analysis in step 2, both your organization and your external environment, step 3 is to develop a strategy that matches the strengths of your organization with the opportunities in the environment, which attempts to either shore up or to avoid the weaknesses you have and to avoid the threats in the outside environment. And then you formulate your true strategy. And of course, what's not in this diagram is the very, very difficult thing of actually executing your strategy successfully. So, formulating strategy uses a common tool, which we mentioned, SWOT analysis. And of course, SWOT is an acronym. First thing you have to know about SWOT, you don't spell it with an A, you spell it with an O. And you can see there, the bullet point there. What is SWOT analysis? It's identification and analysis of organizational strengths and weaknesses, in other words, internal stuff, and environmental opportunities and threats, and that's the external stuff, right, as part of this path, this journey of formulating strategy. So you can see here, this is the little diagram I found online, right, to sort of illustrate what are the 4 big things you're trying to examine. Your internal strengths, where you're weak, in the outside environment, where are possible opportunities in the marketplace, as well as potential threats. And let's dive a little deeper into this to show you how this all works together in the big plan. This is a diagram that I have taken from another textbook that I sometimes teach out of, and I think this does a really good job of sort of illustrating what we're talking about here. Now, as you can see from the diagram at the top, we start with the organization's mission statement. In other words, the organization's stated fundamental purpose. What is this organization all about? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the big goal? Now, from there, the analysis part, the SWOT part, you can see it here, right? That on the left-hand side of the orange box, right, you are analyzing your own company. What are your strengths? What do you do better than anybody else, perhaps? And that's what we would identify as a distinctive competency, something you do better than the other people, right? Other competitors, other firms in the market, as well as, well, let's be honest, okay? If we're really going to take a good hard look at our company, what are we kind of weak at? What are we not as good at as other companies in our marketplace? What are the kinds of things inside our company that, man, maybe we ought to think about improving there? Or at least we should identify and be real about the fact that the other companies do that particular thing better than we do. And then as you turn to the right-hand side of that orange box, external analysis of the outside environment. What's this industry like? What's this marketplace like? What do consumers want? Is there a market opportunity that perhaps we should think about stepping forward and trying to take advantage of? Or are there external outside threats that are looming in the marketplace that we really have to be careful about, right? And so this takes time to perform good, thorough, insightful, deep analysis. Now, I will tell you right now, you can spend a great deal of time and resources doing great SWOT analysis, but that's not the end goal. Analysis, as important as it is a means to another end. The goal is then to form good strategy, not to glory in your analysis, right? And so once you perform the analysis, as you reconcile all these new discoveries perhaps that you've made about your company as well as the outside environment, the idea is consider all those things, and in the bottom box you see there, to develop good strategies, plans, goals, objectives that support the mission of the company and exploit your opportunities and strengths, neutralize threats, and avoid weaknesses. And that really is how strategy works, at least in the broad brush categories. Now, where does this leave us? I can tell you this, formulating a strategy well is hard work. It takes a tremendous amount of experience and knowledge and insight into how businesses actually work, as well as what are your competitors actually doing, what do your consumers and buyers actually want, and reconciling all those kinds of things together to develop a single plan that, if everything goes well, will be incredibly successful for the sake of your company. Knowing that nothing ever goes exactly the way you planned it, right? That's just the way that life goes. And therefore, how will we adjust when the market surprises us? All of these things are part of formulating strategy in the real world. It is an important function. It is perhaps the most important function that managers, or at least leaders of an organization, really perform on a periodic basis. If you do it well and you identify the strategy correctly, your company can be wildly successful. If you don't do such a great job, you could end up wasting millions and millions of dollars in resources never to be seen again, if you know what I mean. That's how important it is. Not for the faint of heart, not for the weak, but it can be incredibly enriching and rewarding, as well as setting the tone and the direction for success in your organization. So I hope that helps to explain at least a little bit of what formulating strategy is about in the real world. More on this, of course, in the textbook, and we'll see you in the next lecture.